What happens when a rookie star is told to give up a position he earned just because the team messed up? At Monza, Oscar Piastri found out the hard way. After undercutting Lando Norris thanks to a 4-second pit stop blunder, McLaren jumped on the radio and ordered him to hand the place back. The crowd gasped, social media lit up, and instantly the paddock began asking, was this fair play or pure British bias inside Papaya? Into this firestorm stepped Nico Rosberg, a man who knows a thing or two about intra-team warfare. Speaking on Sky Sports F1, the 2016 World Champion didn't mince his words. Both routes were bad. McLaren chose the better of two bad options. But why? Because for Rosberg, pit stop luck has always been part of racing. If your stop is slower, you suffer. If it's faster, you benefit. To him, rewriting positions after the fact breaks one of Formula One's most sacred rules. You make your own luck. And yet, Rosberg admitted something else too, that McLaren's choice wasn't about justice at all. It was about survival in the championship fight. So why did Rosberg still call McLaren's order the better of two bad options? Because in his eyes, Papaya were trapped. Letting Piastri keep the place would have punished Norris for something entirely outside his control, a botched pit stop. But flipping them back meant tearing away a reward Piastri had snatched fair and square on track. No victory, no glory, just a team order. Rosberg explained it with cold logic. McLaren couldn't risk influencing the Drivers' Championship because of their own operational error. They messed up as a team, so it wasn't fair to let the pit crew decide the title fight. And that, in Rosberg's mind, made restoring the order the least unfair choice. Still, he didn't sugarcoat how brutal it must have felt for Piastri. If you're Oscar, it will drive you nuts, Rosberg admitted. Imagine fighting your teammate on equal terms only to be told, not asked, to move aside. That eats at you. And for a rising star known as the Silent Assassin, this might have been the first crack in the armor. Rosberg didn't just comment from the sidelines. He lived this war before. At Mercedes, from 2014 to 2016, the silver rules governed life alongside Lewis Hamilton. The policy was simple. If the team's race win was under threat from a rival, the drivers had to work together. But when it was only Mercedes versus Mercedes, all bets were off. Rosberg recalled Monaco 2016, when Daniel Ricciardo was storming away at the front. He was holding up Hamilton and the radio crackled. "Nico, you must let Lewis through." Painful? Absolutely. But the logic was clear. Protect the win for Mercedes. Rosberg moved aside. Now compare that to Monza 2025. Norris wasn't chasing Verstappen or Leclerc. He was chasing Piastri. There was no Ferrari or Red Bull breathing down their necks. And yet, McLaren still reversed the order, citing fairness after a slow pit stop. That's what makes this case unique, and why Rosberg warned it could drive Piastri nuts. Because unlike the silver arrows, the Papaya principles aren't written down. They're murky, and murky rules always lead to mistrust. Toto Wolff once said it best about Rosberg and Hamilton: two assassins in the same team. Ruthless, cold, willing to exploit every gray area to get the edge. That was Mercedes from 2014 to 2016, and it nearly tore the team apart. Fast forward to McLaren in 2025, and you can feel the echoes. Lando Norris, the established team leader with Papaya built around him. Oscar Piastri, the silent assassin, calm on the surface, but lethal when the helmet's on. For the first time in years, Formula One has a genuine civil war brewing inside a front-running team. The Italian GP pit stop fiasco was the first flashpoint. It didn't end with contact, shouting, or a post-race meltdown, but it planted the seed of mistrust. Piastri obeyed the call this time. But what happens when the stakes are higher? When it's Abu Dhabi and the title is on the line? That's where Wolff's Assassins line hangs like a shadow, because once drivers smell blood, no team rulebook, Papaya, silver, or otherwise, can keep them from going for the kill. The Monza drama has not just divided McLaren's garage, it's split the fan base wide open. Scroll through social media and you'll see it. Two armies forming. On one side, the Norris Rules crowd, convinced Lando has earned the right to be team leader after years of carrying McLaren through midfield pain. On the other, the silent assassin faithful, who argue Oscar Piastri is the cold-blooded future robbed of his moment in Monza by a team too scared to upset the status quo. And here's where it gets dangerous. Once fans start seeing bias, British bias, Papaya politics, call it what you will, every team order feels like a conspiracy. Rosberg himself admitted, a lot of people will not like it. a lot of people will think it makes sense. That's code for division. This isn't just a racing rivalry anymore. It's a culture clash inside McLaren, a battle for identity. Is this still Lando's team, or is Oscar Piastri strong enough to shatter that perception? And like every great F1 civil war, the louder the outside voices get, the harder it becomes for the team to control the fire. For now, Oscar Piastri played the good soldier. He lifted, he obeyed, he let Lando Norris back through. But Rosberg's warning rings loud. If you're Oscar, it will drive you nuts. Because deep down, Piastri knows what every driver knows. Opportunities in Formula One are rare, and respect is earned wheel to wheel, not handed back over the radio. History tells us this patience won't last forever. Rosberg himself admitted he sometimes ignored orders when survival instincts kicked in. Hamilton did the same in Abu Dhabi 2016, deliberately slowing the field to try and steal the title. Once you're in a title fight, team orders become optional. So the question is, when McLaren calls next time, will Piastri still obey? Or will the silent assassin go rogue? Because one act of defiance, one moment of holding track position instead of bowing to the pit wall, could completely flip the power dynamic inside Papaya. That's the nightmare scenario for McLaren. Once trust is broken, it's not just about lap times anymore. It's about open war. This isn't just McLaren theater. It could decide the 2025 World Championship. While Norris and Piastri trip over team orders, Max Verstappen has already bounced back to winning ways. Ferrari still lurks with Charles Leclerc, ready to pounce if McLaren wastes points. And let's not forget Mercedes, desperate but dangerous, even as young Kimi Antonelli struggles to find his rhythm. Nico Rosberg made it clear, McLaren's decision was about protecting the team, not the driver. But Formula One history shows what happens when teams focus too much on self-preservation. They lose sight of the real enemy. Think back to Mercedes in 2016. While Rosberg and Hamilton destroyed each other behind closed doors, Red Bull and Ferrari were waiting to exploit any crack. If Norris and Piastri keep bleeding points through mistrust, Verstappen won't just catch them, he'll crush them. That's the cruel math of F1. Civil wars cost championships. The question is whether McLaren learns that lesson in time or repeats the same mistakes Mercedes once barely survived. Monza may go down as the spark that lit the fuse. Rosberg's verdict was clear. McLaren chose the least worst option. But in doing so, they exposed the fragility of their own empire. Because once a driver feels wronged, once he feels the rules bend for someone else, that wound never truly heals. For Norris, Monza was redemption after a pit stop gone wrong. For Piastri, it was a reminder that no matter how fast you drive, politics can still slow you down. And for us, the fans, it feels like we're watching history repeat itself. Echoes of Hamilton versus Rosberg, only this time painted papaya orange. So here's the question. When the next moment of truth comes, does Piastri obey again? Or does the silent assassin finally strike? Because if he does, McLaren won't just be fighting Red Bull or Ferrari anymore, they'll be fighting themselves. And that, my friends, could decide the 2025 World Championship.